Okay, so idea revelation time. So what did I want to kind of reveal about my ideas of this belt? Well, you can see it's significantly thicker than it was before. That's the first thing, but that's a change that I made some time ago. What I want to do about this belt is this kind of change the whole idea I had behind these belts. Previously, if you remember in our concept art phase, I was talking about making these belts look quite unique, but actually I think with the rest of the style that the character's got going on, it doesn't really make sense to suddenly have very unique kind of belts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them very simple. I don't mean simple, I just mean rather... well, let's pull in some things from the mood board. So immediately here you can see this is the primary inspiration for the vest, and yes, we do have the collar belts to tackle yet. But you see how there's just an edging on the outside there. That's essentially all I'm going to look at doing. And if we want some metal studs in later, well, that's something we can look at adding later once the belt has been completed. Okay, and we'll see just how many metal kind of parts you want to add to it, because you can get a bit carried away with adding things like metal studs and metal decor here and there. So it's very important just to make sure we don't get carried away with that. Although I do think that a belt like this, for example, looks a little bit too standard, and you can see it looks a bit bare because there's no kind of edge lining there. So it just goes to show you what edge lining can really do. Even if it's just like a channel for the stitches to kind of sit in, can really make a big difference. And the other one I kind of wanted to refer to is this one here. So you can see this character here has just got, oop, there's the autosave. This character here has just got the same kind of edging along the belt there, but she's got holes essentially where her belt kind of buckles in at the front here, even though it's kind of a bit funny because there's only one central hole here, and we've got pairs of holes here at the back end here. So that was the primary inspiration for this belt that we've got going on here. So I'm basically going to borrow, not steal, borrow or be inspired by this particular belt here. So all I'm going to do is I'm probably going to redraw this belt here just so that we can have the fastening function going on here and have it overlap correctly. Okay, just like we did before with the Vembrace straps as well. And then we're just basically going to do this part there. Okay, let's get started. So I did say we're going to recreate this, so let's go ahead and we'll make our lives a little bit easier. We'll hide this placeholder satchel we've got going on here. And we are going to go back and we are going to use, yes, my favorite one, the IMM curve brush, and we're going to choose wide strap. So what we're going to do now is just going to experiment with how big this strap is. And we can see there, I was very lucky. A size of 104 is almost absolutely the correct size. So I'm just going to go here and I'm just going to type in, whoop, not 140, 104. So that's a nice fixed size. Okay, now this is wrapping around the vest, so we're going to have a surface to draw on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this sash layer, I'm going to duplicate the vest, and this is a dummy vest, so we'll bring it down to the lowest subdivision and we'll delete the higher, and we'll hide the current high poly vest for now. Okay, so let's just remind ourselves of the trajectory of that kind of sash. It's going to go around, and it's going to be highest on her left hip here. Okay, but it's got to kind of start almost here. That's what I didn't do the last time. So we're going to start it off here. Going to angle it low, and we're going to carry it on. There we go. We're going to carry on up over there. And we're going to have to get clever with this, but we're going to have to essentially, there we go, let's tweak it around a bit. Okay. Right, so we're going to have to actually bring it up here. Oop, too far. let's just turn the corner. Turn the corner. Did we turn the corner? Possibly not, possibly. And it's kind of joined. That's a shame. Okay, we'll just have to kind of, ooh, it's a bit of an angle there. Nope. There we go. Just kind of point it up a bit, and it's still joining. That's so frustrating when that happens. Very frustrating. Let's just do our best to sort of pull it up here. It's not ideal, but we just have to sort of let it figure itself out without trying to destroy everything. And it's handy that we can just sort of control it like this. And actually we do want it to point down here in the end. So yeah, we've kind of got a similar ended up with a similar issues to what we had earlier, which is, it's okay, it's not ideal, but what we could do is we'll just extend this guy up a little bit more, and let's just, because we've got such control over this, should be easier. Let's just drag it out again. There we go. Oh dear. Right, let's control that a bit better. Oh, hello. Yes, yes, yeah, yes, yes. So it is, I will admit, it's very fiddly. There's probably a better way to do this, not gonna lie, but this is unfortunately the only way I particularly know how to do it. Okay, I'm sure there's a way in ZBrush that probably can just easily get over this issue, but I'm not privy to it, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to kind of bring that there as best we can, essentially. Okay, just get the right angle on. Try to not get so frustrated with this stage at this point in time, just because it is kind of writhing around itself. I know it's frustrating that it's not ideal, but do just try and get a good angle on it. Like for here, for instance, you want it wrapped around her torso there. So it's the best way to do it, just to get it to align to certain planes. Got to bring it back around again. There we go. Just got to shift it around a little bit. Okay, I wonder if the mask works. No, does not work. Okay, I will call it a truce there. So I'll go with that, even though it's not what I want. But I will now move over to the Move Topological brush, because this is somewhat in the right area. So I just need to tuck that under the rest of it. Of course, I'm clashing with the actual torso now. So just going to move that out. Something like that. Okay. And it was highest up here, so we're going to have to get a rather large brush, move that high up there, and move this a little lower down. Okay, and just masking off that area, essentially. I'm just going to bring this, you see I've got a lot of slack there by design. I'm just going to bring that over. I'm just going to pull it pretty much towards this axis here. Okay, it's a little bit of a weird, janky way to do it, but like I said, unfortunately it's the only way I really know how to do this. Straps can, so curves in ZBrush just generally confuse me, so I apologize if it's not the most optimal way of doing things. Okay, fabulous. Okay, so with that done now, let's flip the mask. I say that, we'll mask this off too. We'll flip the mask, and we'll mask that off too. Okay, so with the mask flipped now, what we can do is we'll just want to just take care of this little end here. Make sure that's roughly in the right spot and roughly aligned correctly, more or less. Lock it in, and I just want to rotate this little guy around here. Okay, just so that he does appear to sort of be following that trajectory line. Okay. And with that done, we'll flip the mask again, and we see we've got that kind of result there. Okay, fabulous. Now this is overstretched, so I'm just going to pull that back a little bit. I'm going to use Move Topological now. Just going to, oops, the camera's a bit off. Let's reframe it. Just going to put that, overlap it there like so. And once again, my camera is off again, which is annoying, but it's one of the issues of working this way. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll get rid of this. Let's just use polygroups first. Polygroups, auto groups, and we'll get rid of this dummy vest. We don't need that anymore. And we'll bring back the real vest, which is there, and de-solo it so we can see what's going on. Now with the old sash there, we can see I was a little bit offline, off center, so I'm going to have to redo this. Let's use the move tool. We'll move it down a bit like so, and you can see that using the move tool is quite easy. It just sort of, it just works, to quote Todd Howard. It just works. Okay, so big move tools can just sort of help adjust the trajectory of these kind of curves quite easily. I'll swap to Move Topological now as I just work on this side here, getting that quite low to be attached to the placeholder satchel we had down there. Okay, and just bringing this area up a little bit more, and maybe sort of adjusting that curve line there a bit. Pull that in a bit closer. pull that a bit further out. Okay. Alright, let's hide the sash. See if we're happy with the results. Yeah, that's okay. That's not too bad. Alright. Now, this kind of belt, I don't want it to have such stiff edges. I want it to be quite a soft belt. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to actually kind of, whatchamacallit, decrease the edges. I mean, you can see what it looks like. If we crease it now, and we subdivide it, see, it's not exactly what, it's a bit too stiff, so I'm just going to undo that. I don't want to crease it. Just going to subdivide it. But at this stage here, I do like this level of softness. If I subdivide it a bit more, it could get a bit out of hand, so just to protect it a bit here, I'll crease it now and then subdivide it, just so it's got a little bit of an edge to it, but not a big one, not a major edge. Okay, right, fabulous. And with that, now I can just sort of do some final tweaks. I want to push that out a little bit there, just so it's ready to hang over the satchel. And then here as well, just kind of think about the way the weight would work. Okay, we've got the satchel, sorry, not the satchel, but the sash of that kind of big belt taken care of there. Okay. Right, fabulous. All that's left to do now is essentially just kind of tackle the edge. Okay, so we're going to do exactly the same thing we did with the vest here. This is very light standard brush. We're just going to go around the outside, and you can see I'm at quite a low subdivision level here. It's only 28,000 active points, but I'm just going to go in, and maybe even a smaller size, just go around the edge and just kind of paint in an edge here. Okay, just to give the belt some depth. And again, any kind of particular sort of style or idea you've got for the lining here, keep it until we get to Substance Painter. Okay, because you'll have much more control over that in Substance Painter. In fact, as I'm saying that right now, I'm just going to lightly do this because Substance Painter can really drop into its height map function and just basically do this with immense ease. But for us now, just to kind of create a bit of variation on the belt surface itself, we'll just go around this once at this low res, just to introduce a bit of variation to it, just so it's not a flat surface or a flat slug that's wrapping around it. It actually looks like a belt. It's just around the tops. Okay, so what you have there, you just got that little kind of contour effect that goes all the way around the belt, and of course you can smooth it down as well. Okay, it's more important it looks smooth than defined at this stage, because again, Substance Painter will take care of the definition for us in the end. Alright, there you go. Okay. Right, fabulous. The only other thing I sort of want to do here is I want to have the key silhouette ID here, so I'll probably just use a trim dynamic brush just in the center all the way around, just to kind of flatten the inside. Oops, that's a bit too much. Just gently gently go across there, undo it. Oh, it doesn't like that section, that's fine. We'll just go over the rest of the belt. But basically, you can see what the trim dynamic brush is doing. It's just kind of flattening the inner section of the belt there. So it's kind of doing the inverse of what we were doing before. It's exaggerating those edges by kind of flattening the center or the middle of the strap and belt. Okay, so trim dynamic brush understands most of the surfaces you kind of put it to work on, but it can sometimes get confused, like there for instance, so just be a bit careful. You can use this quite liberally as well. Oh, I went back to that part again, which is a bit of an issue. It's a bit of an issue there, which is a shame. It's not an issue here, it's just an issue there. We could try trim adaptive. No, see. Oh, whoa, that's really bad. Don't do that. Let's try flatten. Flatten is maybe okay. We'll just use flatten for a little bit. Well, maybe we can just... Nah, I think maybe we should just leave it the way it is. Maybe we can manually come in with a standard brush, although it won't be the same. but maybe just a little bit there, just a little bit. Okay, so if we pull that out now, there we go. Just by that trim dynamic pass there, that's a bit more of a belt there. You can see we've got the edges stuck out there, although we could do just a bit more here. Maybe it's a bit too big on that edge there. It's just a bit more there. There you go, just kind of, you can see it's kind of cutting out a channel there almost. Yeah, that's alright. Okay. Okay, fabulous. Alright, now in terms of the belt buckle, you probably already guessed it, but we are just going to use an IMM brush. And that is the one we've been using for all the other ones, which is... Oh, no, we don't want to do that. It's over here, IMM Clothing Hard. We're just going to use the buckle type 2. We can't do it on there because it's too many subdivision levels, so let's duplicate it. We'll delete the high res on the dummy one, and we'll just kind of draw one out roughly facing that way. Now obviously this is a very boring design, this won't be the final one, but it will be a bit of a placeholder for now, just so that we can see what effect that looks like, okay, once it's complete. See if it looks a bit too goofy, do you know what I mean? Because sometimes maybe the belt is like gigantically big and it looks ridiculous, we won't really be able to tell without a belt buckle. Okay, so with that done, we just delete the fake belt and we'll bring back the real belt. And let's zoom away a bit. Okay. Yeah, I think that belt is quite commonly big, comically big. So that buckle really does sort of just sell that idea home that it's too big. So let's hide the sash for now. Let's reduce the belt buckle size. Perhaps something along that line is a bit better. So let's go back to the sash. Now there's different ways of doing this, but if you decided the same way as I do, you made your belt too big, best to probably use a tool like this. So we'll kind of alt click there to align it along the plane, unpadlock it, just get it generally correct, sort of lining up that way, and we're just going to scale it down a bit. Not too much because it is going to ruin a bit of the angle that we've got going on. Once we've scaled it down a bit now, we will have to go to the lowest subdivision level, grab our Move Topological brush, and we'll just have to manually kind of squash it, I'm afraid. It's much easier to squash than it is to enlarge. So at least there's that much to it. Okay. And this part here, I think it's a bit too curvy, so I'm just actually going to pull this back here a bit. I think that's what's kind of bothering me about this section here. It's a bit too sparse. So let's just kind of really sort of pinch in on that angle there a bit, rather than having it be so finely rounded, because that's not really so realistic. Okay, and after all, this part here underneath's got to overlap with the belt, so we'll just do it that way. Okay, and we've got a bit more clipping going on here, so just move that in. Right, let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's a bit more realistic, isn't it? It's a little less crazy looking with the gigantic belt buckle. So yeah, because you can see we're going to have to keep kind of making slight modifications as we go along here and there. Okay, but that's all part of the process essentially. Okay. Right, fabulous. I just want to spend a little bit more time just doing a couple of other things, and one of the things I want to do here is, of course, this belt's kind of threading through on something. I'm going to have like a slot here that basically would sort of kind of fold into, or kind of tuck itself into. So the easiest way I'm going to do that, I'm going to be kind of, yes, you could say somewhat lazy about it. I'm going to insert a giant cube. Yes, and there's a giant cube, and I'm going to use the move tool. And you guess what I'm going to do already? I'm just going to shrink it down because I want this cube for its straight edgedness. Shrink it down. Oops. Move it into position. Now I want to determine this thickness here. So I want it to be about maybe that thick. Maybe just extrude that a bit. We'll roll it over. And accounting for when I subdivide it, it's going to shrink again. So I think something like that's probably a good thickness. kind of align it a bit more. So if I now subdivide it, there we go, maybe a bit more, there we go. But that's probably too much for what it is. Okay, subdivision level 2 is fine. We'll kind of push that in there, and there we go. We kind of got a belt sort of clip there. I don't know what you call these things actually. It's amazing. I've made characters for how many years now, and I've never bothered to look at what the proper name for all these bits are. Just me, unfortunately. Forgive me for my ignorance. Okay, there we go. I almost feel like, logically speaking, it should be on the other side of things, but hey, it looks good there, so I'm going to put one there too. So I'm going to, actually, let's copy that over, because I feel like this belt would have probably quite a few, given the fact it's a giant belt, or very big belt. So let's have one on this side too. And at this point in time, I'm not going for realism, I'm kind of just going for aesthetics. Although, having said that, I'm not so sure if I like the look of that. No, we'll leave it for now. We'll leave it for now. There we go. We'll just leave it like that. Okay. Right. Nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to end the video there because I don't want to make these videos too long for each of these sections. So we are going to be moving our attention now over to the belts. Okay, we're kind of done with the clothing. I say that, but somewhat. Don't say goodbye to them just yet. I'm sure there's still be some final tweaks that need doing once the belts are all done. But the next one we're going to tackle is the kind of shoulder strap that I've hid for now. The one that kind of comes down here. Okay. So we're probably going to go ahead and redraw that just to kind of get this curvature back, because we have been playing around with that a little bit too much, and to just kind of restore that. Okay, wonderful.